Hello class, this is a tutorial for people who missed the last class before the break on how to use Visual Studio, um, and more explicitly Visual Basic in Visual Studio. Um, Now there's a couple things we have to keep in mind here. First, when you actually create a program with Visual Basic, you will have a bunch of files that will be needed in order to create the program that you're doing. So one of the things you want to do is create a file save folder. If you're on the college network, you want to put this in your J drive, or if you have your own computer, put it somewhere that you will um, remember to access. So here I have my OneDrive college folder and have my Visual Basic exemplars here. Okay, so I'm going to save or select this directory when I create a new file, and I'm going to create a program. Now, if you downloaded Visual Studio 2017 to your computer, as shown in the learning resources, and you have it on your own computer or you're trying to find it on the college computers, you would go to your Start button, scroll all the way down to V, click on Visual Studio 2017, and you'll get a window that'll pop up like this. Now, I have a certain color scheme associated with my Visual Studio, and when you download it on your own computer, you will be able to select the color scheme on the college computers. It will have a preset color scheme for you. And just as a reminder that the only computers that have Visual Basic or Visual Studio 2017 are actually in the McIntyre and the Dorian buildings. So there are no computers that have Visual Studio in the SUNY building. So getting started, um, we're going to click on File, and we're going to click on New Project. Okay, so this is going to be any program that we use or create. It's always going to be a new project. Now, for Visual Basic, um, you'll see that your options that pop up here, it might automatically click to Visual C Sharp. If you just click on that, you can see all the major languages they're going to be using, um, or that you have access to. So just click on Visual Basic, and making sure you've clicked on Visual Basic, these should pop up. Okay, I just want to left click once on the Visual Forms app because that's the type of program we're actually going to create. And just below, we're going to have access to creating or modifying the name of this, where it gets saved, and the solution name as well. We're not going to worry about the solution, but solution files are the ones that we use to open up our program that we have saved. So for this, we're going to just create a hello world program, but as I did in class, hello world is a little bit older, so let's modernize it and let's say hello humans, okay? Because artificial intelligence is on the brim of being very, very powerful. Um, so we're just gonna use this as our name. Now, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a program that you click a button and a message pops up and it says hello humans. Now, in order to actually access this again, we're going to we're going to change the location. So you can see that I actually have no idea where this folder is. So if I click on browse, I want to make sure that I am going to my file folder in my college drive. Okay, so I'm going to go OneDrive college MC120, click on my Visual Basic exemplars. I'm going to select that folder, and now I know that this file will be saved to my Visual Basic exemplars folder. So once you have the name and the location, you click OK, and now your program or your coding window will shortly load. So now I'm going to explain to you um, three major things, three major places that we're actually going to be using here. We have this main dialog box here, and this is where we actually see the outcome of the program, or a preview, I should say, of what the box will pop up as when you start running the program. So this is the box right here, and that's how it will pop up. Next, we have the properties section, which is over in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and this allows us to change the aspects or properties of any objects that we put in here. An object will be like this box, any text, anything else that we actually put in our program. Now, this is already open for me, so I'm going to unpin this. If you see nothing here on the left hand side of your window, you want to actually move your mouse down to Toolbox and click on that. This toolbox is something that we're going to be using, and if I click on the pin, it will always keep this toolbox up for me or yourself, and we'll be able to actually use the toolbox. This toolbox allows us to add stuff by drag and dropping certain objects to our um, program, and then allowing us to do stuff with those things. And you'll get an understanding of what the objects are in a moment. Now, the last couple things I wanted to show are, as we have lots of various things on the page here, the only ones I'm going to make you guys concerned about is the save all. So it's not the single floppy disk, but the double floppy disk, as that's going to save all the files associated with our computer, or sorry, our program. And then we will use the start button to actually see the outcome of our program. Okay, so those are the only two buttons we're going to be concerned with once we've finished our coding. Save all and start. So as you can see, similar to Microsoft Word, we have our dialog box here. I can actually click and drag on this to make it bigger. Okay, and just for the sake of working and having lots of space to work with, I'm going to make it, somewhat larger to whatever your preference is. Now, as you can see, just left clicking once on this box, this is highlighted. So the dialog box is now selected, and we can look at the properties of this dialog box. Okay, and one of the things I want to do is I want to change this form 1. Okay, this will be the title of the program, or what the title shows as it pops up when you run the program. And we would find that under appearance. Okay, so we're not going to worry about going through all this stuff of all the properties here. We're just going to scroll down through appearance until we see text. So under text, there's going to be this left-hand column that tells you what property you're changing. The right-hand column is whatever property you want that to have. So for the text, if I click in the box on the right-hand side, I can delete it and change that text. So whatever I change it to, it will pop up in the top of the dialog box. So I'm going to type in hello humans program. Okay. Now if I just click anywhere outside the properties into my dialog box preview, you can see that hello humans program is now the text at the top of the dialog box. Okay, so that's the one thing that we're going to use just to make it more clear as to what programs we're operating with. Now, if you actually scroll down and you see the design, you see the name. Okay. I want to change this not because it's going to be important now, but just to give you an understanding of what this does. When we actually look at coding, each object will have a name to it. And when we actually type out code, we have to refer to the name of each object in order to do something with it. So here we see that it's form1, and that's similar to this program up top here. So that's the automatic name given when you start a new dialog box. So I'm going to delete this, put a capital H, hello, capital H again, no space, humans, and then a capital P, no space, program. When you're doing coding and you make a name of an object, or you set the name for an object, uh, it's the convention of coding is that there's no spaces between, and you use capital letters to differentiate between different words. So if I click that, okay, you see that nothing changes here or here, but when we actually look at the coding, you'll see this pop up. So what I essentially want to do is create instructions for a user to say, here, click this button, and we're going to have this message box pop up that says, hello humans. So using my toolbox, first thing I want to do is look for um, something that I can use as text. So if you scroll down, and I believe I have it on all Windows forms. So what I want to do is actually click on Common Controls. I'm going to deselect this. So make sure your Common Controls is open, and you should just see the same um, objects here as on your screen. So I'm going to click and drag a label, and I'm just going to click and drag it to the middle of the screen. A label allows me to type in text. So as I scroll up and making sure I have left clicked the label, you'll see the box around it. I will go to Appearance and change the text to click the magic button to see the message. Okay. And using my left and right arrows on my keyboard, I can make sure everything I spelled here is correct. Okay. So I'm going to click enter there. Now you see the label 1 changes to that message that I stated. Click the magic button to see the message. And that's it. That's all I want this program to say. Now if I say that you need to click a magic button to see a message, well, we don't see that button. So that's an object that we have to add to our program. So under Common Controls, I'm going to look for button, left click it once, left click and drag to the middle, and we have this as our button. And because we have these boxes similar to Microsoft Word, we can click and drag any of the corners to make it bigger. Okay, I'm going to make it bigger just like this. Yet again, it's automatically given the name button 1 as well as the text. And making sure you have left clicked the button, you should see the text now saying button 1. I'm going to change this to magic button to make sure that I am consistent with my instructions. Okay, and either clicking enter or anywhere along the screen here, we see that it turns to the magic button. So the nice thing about Visual Basic is that you can add all of these objects without actually having to physically code them in. Okay, and you'll see that there's a lot of similarities between Microsoft Word and Visual Basic. So now, given Visual Basic, if you double left click on a certain object, what you're doing is you're telling Visual Basic that I want to create code for this object. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the only thing I want to do is when this button is clicked, I want it to 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 create a message box that says hello humans. So I'm going to double left click the button, and now what happens is a new tab opens up, um, and you'll see it just kind of like a internet browser. That our design is back here, so that doesn't change. That's the way it's gonna be previewed as. And then if I click over to the non-design, this is the actual coding. If this text is too small for you, you can hold um, Control, and if you have a mouse wheel, zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And we don't have to worry about what these mean. Each of these lines of text are part of the code. But the nice thing about Visual Basic is it all puts it in for you when you double click an object. And Visual Basic runs off of what it's called events. So after any type of event has happened, whether it's um, a certain time has passed, a user interface, so clicking somewhere, pressing any key on the keyboard, you can create the program to respond in some sort of way. So as we double left clicked on the button, which is automatically given the name button 1, it's asking us what do you want it to do when somebody clicks the button. Okay, and you can see that this is referring to our program that we changed the name of, not the text, but the name of in the properties earlier. So it recognizes that we're referring to the Hello Humans program dialog box. Okay, so this is where the name actually pops up. So we're saying, given that dialog box, when you click the button, what do you want it to do? So I just want you to type in capital MSG box, okay, just like so. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a message box for you. As you type, Visual Basic will kind of autofill or auto-suggest options for you. Just disregard this at this time. As we get more and more comfortable with Visual Basic, you will see how that comes in handy. And what I wanted to say is hello humans, and it is important that I put double quotes first after the parentheses, so hello humans with a period. So it's got to be spelled identically to this. Where you put capitals is very important in coding because that can mean a different function if it's not identical to this. Put a parentheses, hello humans, in quotes, double quotes, and that's it. Okay. So you will now see a yellow bar here. This means that this is code that you have created but not saved. So now, in order to save this, we're going to click on the double floppy disk, which saves all files associated with this program. Clicking on that, and now turns green, which means it's saved. We don't have to worry about losing it. So now going back to here, we're going to click on Start, and what should happen is this dialog box should pop up, and when we click the magic button, a message box pops up. So we see that the program is what's called compiling. It's putting all the files together to create this program. So you should now see this dialog box that pops up, and it says Hello Humans Program. Click on the magic button, and you have Hello Humans popping up as your message box. Okay, so you click OK, that brings you back. You can click Exit or X, and that will bring you back to your coding screen. So this is a very simple initial program. Do not worry about knowing the various functions of the for coding. I will provide a list of what type of code does what Okay, and I'm gonna show you guys another video um, that looks at a couple new things. So um, changing more properties and actually coding in new properties to things. Now, just double checking, if I click on this, save, and I want to create um, a new project, or I want to add maximizing this screen, looking at this screen, I close this, and I wanted to open up that file again, I can either go to Visual Studio, open that up, go to File, Open, Project Solution, and then I would navigate to where I created that folder. So here it'd be on my OneDrive, Confederation College, MC120, Visual Basic Exemplars, my Hello Humans, and my Hello Humans.sln. That stands for solution. So I'm going to left click on that, open that, and that it will open that up for you, and you should see all the files that you had before. Okay, so that's it for the intro tutorial of the Hello World or Hello Humans program, and I will post another video showing the um, next step, changing and looking at modifying properties of your program.